Morbius is, without a doubt, one of the single greatest achievements in all of human history, not just cinema, an absolute piece of artistic brilliance, pure kino that transcends all media as we know it today. Martin Scorsese was famously seen weeping when he first saw Morbius during its premiere, and after watching it for the first time he immediately retired from filmmaking, quoted as saying he could never possibly produce a film even 1/10 as good as Morbius, so magnificent it was. Kevin Feige, when he first saw Morbius, was so thoroughly awestruck by it that he immediately decanonized the entire MCU and decided to make Morbius ground zero for a brand new MCU, the Morbius Cinematic Universe. My god, of all the movies I have ever seen, Morbius is definitely one of them, and the plot is definitely a story where events happen in sequential order. It's absolutely breathtaking. Morbius is such a powerful movie that it's even causing world peace. There have been countless reports of people from Israel and Palestine, and India and Pakistan, coming together to say, "It's Morbin time," in unison. To be fair, you need to have a pretty high IQ to understand Morbius. Even his iconic catchphrase, "It's Morbin time," is a very intelligent and clever reference to James Joyce, a repudiation of his attitude of paralysis and...
Hey! Shut up!
Alright, you probably get the point by now. I've run this joke into the ground the same way the rest of the internet has, but it is pretty funny to dunk on Morbius, you have to admit.
Look, Pim, I know it's our job to help this guy and everything, but I think this guy's a lost cause. He's obviously made up his mind. Why don't we just cut our losses and get out of here?
Here's my controversial hot take of the month. Morbius is a shit movie. I know, settle down, lower the pitchforks. Even though it sucks as a movie, it is still worth discussing, particularly when it comes to how Sony is treating the SpiderMan brand. Here's a little homework for any of you who weren't turned off by my anti-Morbius blasphemy. Try and look up any of the leaked emails that came from the Sony hack a few years ago, and if you happen to find any that discuss Spider-Man as a character, you'll quickly come to understand that Sony doesn't have a clue what they're doing when it comes to the character. The evidence is certainly there if you take a look at the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Those things were apparently disasters from a production standpoint, and you can certainly learn a lot of interesting insights if you look into the production of them.
You're a fraud, Spider-Man!
It's around about that time that Sony decided to set off on their stupid "let's make a cinematic universe using only Spider-Man characters" thing that they've been threatening to do for a while now. That Sinister Six tease in Amazing Spider-Man 2 was, well, it was insightful to put it mildly. Anyone with even a passing interest in cinema is likely fully aware of the kind of impact the MCU has had on major studios. It seems just about everyone is trying to make their own cinematic universe and are digging up whatever IPs they have on hand to make one. The Monsterverse, the Dark Universe, the DCEU, and indeed, the Sonyverse.
Endless trash!
With the exception of the Monsterverse, these various efforts are either floundering or dead in the water outright, but there's a special scent of failure that hangs around Sony's efforts. A Spider-Man cinematic universe without Spider-Man just doesn't sit right with anyone. I'm not against some of Spider-Man's supporting cast and villains getting their own movies on the face of it, but I really don't think Sony has the creative power to actually make any of these ideas work. They've proven that time and again already. Like, I know there are people that scoff at the idea of characters like Kraven the Hunter or the Sinister Six getting movies based on them, but I think that those could work with the right people on it. But with Sony, well, they've produced 2 mediocre Venom movies and this atrocities. So, I don't give them good odds at being able to pull it off. What's doubly annoying is that Sony could just sit back and get payola from Disney for letting them have the film rights to Spider-Man again, but instead of just taking that money, they want to try and get their own cut of the pie and are fumbling with it every time. It's kind of embarrassing and funny in equal measures. But there is absolutely some brainlet at Sony that thinks they can get it right eventually. The financial success of Venom probably didn't help with that impression. Yeah, China really loves Venom. I have no idea why. I guess in theory he's the perfect embodiment of communism, but I don't think that's the reason. Sony seems to be of the impression that if it worked with Venom, it can work with any Spider-Man character. And nobody seems to see fit to tell Sony that Venom was already a pretty big character with a pre-established brand and fanbase well before the MCU was even a thing. That's why it worked with Venom. People could tell you who Venom was if you asked them on the street. Well, their initial answer would be, who the fuck are you and why are you asking me about Spider-Man trivia, before they give you a straight answer about Venom himself. As for Morbius, well, by comparison, he's fucking nobody. He's been around longer than Venom, sure, but he's barely ever been used as a character, both in comics or in other media. He had a brief appearance in the Spider-Man animated series from the 90s, but that whole thing's basically a meme in retrospect.
I must keep trying to rid myself of this horrible need for plasma.
Morbius' whole legacy in the public consciousness has been screaming plasma in a bad Dracula impression, and that's all he's ever really been known as. So, sure, give that guy a movie, I guess. A major counter-argument to that would be that any superhero can be made into a profitable movie with the right direction and writing behind it. God knows nobody gave a shit about Shang-Chi for years before the MCU made a movie out of him, but there is a stark difference between the MCU and what Sony is trying to do. Putting the quality of the writing aside, which is an entirely different subject, the MCU has managed to build up quite a substantial reputation over the years. If someone from the MCU were to say, oh my god, it's Dr. Shitfuck, he's getting the next movie, people would say, wow, I really like the last 99 Marvel movies, I guess I'll like this one too. To put it in blunter terms, the MCU has built up enough of a brand that they can get away with making movies about obscure characters that nobody outside of major comic book nerds has ever heard of before. But Sony, when they try to do something like that, well, that's a whole different matter. People, quite naturally, have very little trust in Sony when it comes to any Spider-Man project that isn't Spider-Verse. They've proven time and again that they are very bad with the character. This sentiment also extends to Spider-Man's supporting cast and villains. I'm sure many of us haven't forgotten the shitshow that was the Green Goblin from Amazing Spider-Man 2, or the boundless sequel hooks that were crammed into every orifice of that movie. So, when Sony ends up announcing a project for an obscure character like, say, Morbius, the general response is, who the fuck is Morbius? Or, oh god, Sony are milking the brand again. None of this is helped by some of the painfully stupid decisions that seem to orbit around Sony's Spider-Man cinematic universe. Putting aside the, let's call it interesting, decision to make a movie about Morbius of all characters, there's the matter of casting that's a little bit sus to me as well, namely having Jared Leto as the main character. Now, I will be fair to Leto and say that he is indeed a very talented actor, and I respect his ability to dramatically change his appearance for different roles. Did you know that he's Paul Allen in American Psycho? I fucking didn't until very recently. However, when it comes to comic book movies, Leto is kind of infamous for the last role he played in a superhero flick, that being...
Well, I'm the Joker, baby!
Yeah, that. Kind of a weird association Sony would want people to make. Or how about, when creating a movie about a vampire, Sony decided to make it PG-13? You know, so you couldn't see blood on screen. In a vampire movie. Sony, nobody saw the damn thing anyway. I don't know why you tried to have the biggest market share possible. Though, on that note, we have to discuss Sony's stupidity in another area when it comes to this movie. You see, dear children, after Morbius was released and bombed harder than Dresden, Sony ended up taking a look at all the Morbius memes that came out in the immediate aftermath, and, for whatever reason, they seem to take this as people having an actual interest in the movie instead of just people being ironic on Twitter. And Sony, likely suffering from madness brought about by the frenzied flame, decided to re-release Morbius in cinemas after seeing all these memes, misguided in their belief that somehow people were interested in the movie all of a sudden. And now Morbius has the distinction of flopping twice. Jesus Christ. Now call me crazy, many people do, but I don't think these are the people that can be trusted to maintain a cinematic universe when this is their third outing and they've already managed to fuck it up so badly. I mean, it's doing better than the Dark Universe at least, because it has more than one movie. Frankly, I have to wonder how anyone could possibly be hyped for any future installments in this franchise. That post-credit scene was almost painful to watch. And it also seems to highlight that Sony really doesn't have any idea what to do. They're just flinging whatever they have at the wall and seeing what sticks. Look, I like Michael Keaton's Vulture, but I'm not really that excited to see him in another movie, especially when his appearance here makes very little sense for many different reasons.
Thanks for meeting me, Doc. I've been reading about you.
I'm listening.
I'm not sure how I got here. Has to do with Spider-Man, I think. I'm still figuring this place out, but I think a bunch of guys like us should team up. Could do some good.
Intriguing.
Putting aside the fact that this scene gives me very serious "this is Katana, she's got my back" flashbacks, there's a lot to take in about this particular post-credit scene. For instance, why did Doctor Strange's spell leave the Vulture stranded there of all places? That's not how it works. That makes absolutely no sense. Why would he believe Spider-Man has anything to do with it? As far as he knows, Spider-Man is just some kid that shoots webs out of his wrists. He's not exactly known for casting magical spells. Why the fuck does he have his flying suit? He doesn't have any alien technology, so what the hell did he build it with? And why does he believe Morbius would be interested in helping him fight Spider-Man? Does Morbius somehow know who Spider-Man is? Why is Morbius entertaining this offer? Are you seriously trying to build a Sinister Six with these guys? And so on. That whole sequence really just reeks of, Disney gave us the rights to use this version of the character, so let's crowbar him in somehow, but they really didn't know what the fuck to actually do with him, and so now he's just hanging on awkwardly.
A loathsome dung-eater.
Frankly, I don't think anyone in that scene knew what the fuck was going on. The whole thing feels like it was ad-libbed. But really, it just goes to reinforce the idea that the Sonyverse is being built on a foundation made of sand, and that the people involved really don't know what the hell they're doing. Again, this is the company that somehow got gaslit into releasing a flop movie twice in a row. You know, before Morbius came out, I treated some of the ideas Sony was putting forward for their Sonyverse as the ramblings of a mad person, thinly veiled threats that they were throwing out as they were holding the Spider-Man brand hostage. Pay the ransom or so help us God we'll make a TV series about Black Cat and Silver Sable. We're not joking. And their latest bout of insanity is trying to create a movie for a character called El Muerto, who has appeared in a grand total of 2 comic books. Who the hell is creating these ideas, and where can I find their dealer?
Crack.
Peter,
crack,
what are you doing?
Crack.
What
crack,
the fuck?
Crack.
Still, one has to wonder if Morbius is such a flop that it marks the end of the Sonyverse as a project. Maybe not. But whatever Sony comes up with next, it's bound to be unintentionally hilarious.